My name is Drew Collins. I am 18 years old. And 3 weeks before I was supposed to start college, I found out my parents stole $187,000 from me. My grandmother saved that money over 18 years, every single month, so I could have a future. My parents spent it all to buy my brother a house. And when I asked why, my mother looked me straight in the eyes and said, "Because he's the one who actually matters in this family." I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I picked up the phone and called my grandmother. What she did next made the evening news. Before we begin, if this story means something to you, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if it truly speaks to you. Tell me in the comments where you are watching from, and what time is it there. Now, let me take you back to 3 weeks ago. The day one phone call changed everything. I grew up in Ridgemont, a small town with 12,000 people. The kind of place where everyone waves from their porch and nobody locks the front door. Our house was on Oak Street. It was brown, had 1 floor, a messy lawn, and a basketball hoop that Tyler stopped using years ago. 4 of us lived there. Mom, Dad, my older brother Tyler, and me. On paper, we looked like a normal family. But in real life it was like a ranking system. Tyler was the son. I was background noise. He dropped out of college in his 2nd year. Mom threw him a dinner. She called it a fresh start celebration. He quit 3 jobs in 2 years. Mom called each boss ungrateful. He moved back home at 24. Mom redecorated his old room. Me. I made honor roll every semester. I joined the debate team. I worked part-time at the coffee shop on Birch Avenue starting at age 15. I bought my own textbooks, my own clothes, and never asked for gas money. And every time I brought something home, a trophy, a grade report, an acceptance letter, Mom would barely look up from what she was doing and say, "That's nice, Drew." I remember one evening, specifically, junior year. I walked in with a report card, straight A's again, and Mom was on the phone with Tyler. She waved me off without looking and pointed at the kitchen counter. I set the report card down. It was still there 3 days later, unopened. Dad sat at the end of the table most nights, quiet, eyes on his plate. He never said I didn't matter. He just never said I did. The only person who ever made me feel like I counted was my grandmother. Grandma Ruth. She told me when I was 10, "This money is yours, sweetheart. I saved it for your future." I never doubted that. Not once. I had no idea that Mom had already started taking the money out the November before. Let me tell you about my brother Tyler Collins, 26. Tall, easy smile. The kind of guy who walks into a room and everyone likes him. He got that from Mom, the charm. But people just naturally liked being around him. What he didn't have was follow-through. He couldn't finish what he started. He went to a state college, lasted 3 semesters, then told Mom his professors didn't understand how talented he was. She agreed. He tried working in sales and quit. He tried being a bartender and got fired. He tried freelance graphic design, which mostly meant sitting in his apartment scrolling through the internet while his bills went unpaid. Every single time, Mom had an explanation. The system isn't built for creative people like Tyler. His boss was threatened by him. He just needs the right opportunity. And every single time I succeeded at something, Mom had an explanation for that, too. Girls have it easier. Less pressure. Drew's just book smart. That's not the same as real-world smart. Drew doesn't have the same problems Tyler has. Thanksgiving last year. I had just been accepted to 3 universities. I was waiting for Mom to bring it up at dinner. She didn't. Instead, she stood at the head of the table, raised her glass, and said, "I want everyone to know that Tyler is going to do something amazing." I believe that with my whole heart. The table clapped. Uncle Jim, Aunt Patty, Cousin Sarah, everyone. Nobody mentioned my acceptances. Not one person. Dad sat at the far end, fork in hand, staring at his mashed potatoes like they held the answers to something. After dinner, my phone rang. Grandma Ruth. She wasn't at Thanksgiving. Bad knee that winter. But somehow she knew. Her voice was careful and calm. "Drew, I need you to keep everything I've ever sent you. Every envelope. You understand me?" I didn't understand. Not then. "Yes, Grandma. I will." I wish I'd asked why. 3 weeks before move-in day, on a Tuesday in July, I was sitting at the kitchen counter with my laptop open, finishing up my college checklist. Housing deposit paid from my coffee shop savings. Meal plan selected. Tuition to be transferred from my college fund. I called the bank to check the instructions for sending the money. Routine. I had gone over this call in my head for months. The woman on the phone asked for my social security number, date of birth, and account information. I gave her everything. Then silence. Not a pause. Silence. The kind where you can tell someone is carefully picking what to say. Miss Collins, I'm showing a current balance on this account of $214.36. I laughed. I actually laughed, because obviously there was a mistake. I'm sorry. Can you check again? The account should have around $187,000. More silence. Keyboard clicking. Ma'am, I'm looking at the account history. There have been many withdrawals over the past 8 months. Each one was between $9,000 and $15,000. The withdrawals were approved by the person in charge of the account, a Mr. Roy Collins. My father. I didn't say anything. The kitchen was so quiet I could hear the refrigerator humming. Through the window, I saw Tyler's new truck in the driveway. The one he got last month. The one Mom said was a good deal from a friend. My hands weren't shaking. They should have been, but they weren't. Everything went still, like the whole world had hit pause and forgotten to start again. $214 out of $187,000. 8 months. They had been taking it for 8 months. I set the phone down gently, stood up from the counter, and went to find my mother. She was in the living room, feet up on the footrest, watching some home improvement show. Her glass of iced tea was sweating on the side table. She looked completely relaxed. Mom, where is my college fund? She didn't flinch. She didn't even look surprised. She picked up the remote, turned off the TV sound, and looked at me like I had just asked about the weather. We used it for your brother's house. He needed it more than you do. The room seemed to tilt. Not for real, but something inside me shifted. It felt like a wall deep inside me had cracked. One I didn't even know was holding me up. That was my money. Grandma Ruth saved it for me. Mom smiled. Not a warm smile. A patient one. The way you'd smile at a child who doesn't understand how the world works yet. Your grandmother can save all she wants. I'm your mother. I decide what's best for this family. That was a custodial account. Legally, it's mine. She stood up and walked toward me, close enough that I could smell her perfume, the vanilla one she wears to church. You want to talk legal? Fine. Sue me. But remember who raised you, who fed you, who kept a roof over your head. She tilted her head and looked me over. Tyler needed a stable home. Something real. You. She waved her hand like she was shooing away a fly. You'll figure it out. You always do. And then the sentence, the one I'll carry for the rest of my life. He's the one who actually matters in this family. She said it like she was just stating a plain fact. Like saying the sky is blue or water is wet. Your brother matters more than you. Then she turned the TV sound back on and sat down. I was still standing there, but something inside me had already left the room. I went to my bedroom, closed the door, and sat on the edge of my bed. My hands were steady. My breathing was even. But inside my head, I was already doing the math. Tuition deposit. $5,000 due in 10 days. If I missed it, I'd lose my spot. If I lost my spot, the scholarship I had applied for, the one that required me to be enrolled, would disappear with it. 4 years of honor roll, debate trophies, recommendation letters, SAT prep at the library because I couldn't afford a tutor, all of it gone. I had $812 in my checking account. That was 4 months of coffee shop tips. It wouldn't cover the deposit, let alone a semester. I started thinking through my options. Student loans. I'd need a co-signer. Dad wouldn't sign anything Mom didn't agree to. Financial aid emergency appeal. Possible but slow. Too slow. I could beg. I could go back to that living room and get on my knees and ask my mother to please give me back my future. But I already knew what she'd say. She'd say the same thing she's always said. Figure it out, Drew. You always do. That's the trick, isn't it? They took everything because they knew I wouldn't fall apart. They counted on the fact that I was strong and used it as a reason to steal from me. If I did nothing, if I stayed quiet and kept the peace like I had done my whole life, I would lose $187,000. I would lose college. I would lose the only path I had built for myself out of this house, this town, this ranking system where I would always be second. I looked at my phone. The screen lit up. Contacts. The name at the top of my favorites list. Grandma Ruth. I hadn't called her yet. Not yet. Because I knew that once I made that call, there was no coming back. I found Dad in the garage. His workbench was covered in wire and electrical tape. He was rewiring an electrical box for a customer. The radio played low. Classic rock. He didn't look up when I walked in. What? Dad. His shoulders tightened. He knew. Did you sign the withdrawal forms? He set down the wire cutters and stared at the wall behind the workbench. There was a long, awful silence, the kind that answers a question before any words are said. Then he nodded. Why? Your mother said it was the right thing for the family. For the family or for Tyler? He turned. His eyes were red at the edges. Not from crying, from not sleeping. I could see it now. The way his jaw tightened, the way his hands fidgeted. He had known this was wrong the entire time. Tyler is your brother. We're all family. The money. It'll come back around, Drew. Come back around. I repeated it. Let it hang in the air between us. $187,000 will just come back around. He looked away. Your mother thought. I'm not asking what Mom thought. I'm asking what you thought. You signed those forms. Every single one for 8 months. Nothing. He picked up the wire cutters again. He held them like something to hold on to. You signed away my future, Dad. And you can't even look at me. He didn't look at me. He didn't say another word. I left the garage and walked through the kitchen, past the counter where my report card had sat unopened for 3 days, past the living room where Mom's show was still playing. I went to my room, sat on the bed, picked up the phone, and called Grandma Ruth. She picked up on the second ring. Her voice was warm, the way it always was, like sunlight coming through a kitchen window. Drew, honey, everything all right? I told her. All of it. The bank call, the balance, the 8 months of withdrawals, Dad's signature, Mom's face when she told me. Every word, in order without crying. When I finished, there was silence. 10 seconds, maybe more. Then her voice came back. And it was different. Not warm anymore. Sharp and controlled, like a blade wrapped in soft cloth. They took all of it. Yes. Grandma, when? Over the last 8 months. Your father signed. Yes. And your mother knew. She planned it. Another silence. I could hear her breathing, slow and steady. The way she breathes when she's thinking. Really thinking about what comes next. Drew, listen to me carefully. Her voice was steady now. No shaking, no hesitation. That money is yours. Not theirs, not the family's. Yours. Do you understand me? Yes, ma'am. I have every document. Every single one, from the day I opened that account. Something in my chest loosened. Not relief exactly. More like the moment you realize you're not alone in a dark room. Grandma, I don't know what to do. You don't need to know yet. That's what I'm here for. A pause. Are you safe? Do you need to come to my house tonight? I'm okay. Tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, my kitchen table. Bring everything I've ever mailed you. Every envelope, every letter, every document. Can you do that? Yes. Good. Get some sleep, sweetheart. We have work to do. I hung up and stared at the ceiling. She had kept copies. All 18 years. She had kept everything. I wondered. Had she always known this might happen? The next morning, I was putting on my shoes by the front door when Mom appeared in the hallway. Hair done, lipstick on, arms crossed. Where are you going? Grandma's house. Her face changed. Not to anger. Something colder. She recognized what was happening. It was like she had been waiting for this move and already had a response ready. You called your grandmother about this. It's her money. She saved it. She deserves to know. Mom stepped closer. Her chin trembled right on cue. Drew, You are tearing this family apart. Do you understand what you're doing? The tears arrived. Practiced. Precise. Your grandmother doesn't understand our situation. She never has. She's always judged me. This isn't about judgment. I'm your mom. You're choosing her over your own mother, after everything I've done for you. I watched her perform. The quivering lip, the hand pressed to her chest. I had seen this exact routine 100 times. When Dad questioned the credit card bill. When Tyler's landlord called about late rent. When Aunt Patty asked why I wasn't in the Christmas card photo. Cry. Deflect. Reframe. Make yourself the victim. Dad stood behind her in the hallway, arms at his sides. Silent. A witness to everything. A participant in nothing. I'm not destroying this family, Mom. You did that when you stole from me. Her eyes went flat. The tears stopped like someone had turned off a faucet. Be very careful, Drew. I stepped past her. She didn't move to block me. She didn't need to. She was already reaching for her phone as I walked out the door. I was barely in the car when I saw it through the window. Mom was pacing the kitchen, phone to her ear, waving her arms. She was calling Tyler. I was sure of it. And she had already started trying to control the story. Grandma Ruth's house is on Maple Street. A small white cottage with blue shutters and a porch swing that had been there since before I was born. Flowers lined the walkway. A wind chime hung by the door. It always smells like coffee and lavender inside. She was waiting at the kitchen table with her reading glasses on. A blue folder was open in front of her, and next to it, a second folder and a third. I stopped in the doorway. Grandma, how long have you had all that? 18 years, she said without looking up. Sit down. I sat. She slid the first folder across the table. Inside was the original account opening document. My name, Drew Collins, beneficiary. Dad's name, Roy Collins, custodian. Dated the month I was born. Notarized. Second folder, yearly account statements, every single year. All 18 of them, organized in order with color-coded tabs. Third folder, the most recent statement. Current balance, $214.36. She tapped it with her finger. I requested these from the bank every January. Every year. Because I know my daughter. She looked up at me over her glasses. I love Diane, but I have never trusted Diane with money. My throat tightened. You knew this could happen. I hoped it wouldn't. She closed the folder gently. But I prepared for the possibility. That's not the same as expecting it. She stood, poured me coffee without asking, and set the mug in front of me. I'm calling Margaret Bowen this morning. She's the best estate lawyer in this county. Then we're going to get back every cent that belongs to you. I wrapped my hands around the mug. Grandma, she's your daughter. Ruth Hartwell looked at me. Her eyes were steady and clear. 74 years old, and absolutely unshakable. And you're my granddaughter. And what she did is a crime. But she did more than call a lawyer. Much more than I could have imagined. Margaret Bowen arrived at 2 that afternoon. She drove a silver car, wore a dark blue jacket even in July, and carried a leather briefcase that looked like it had been through 30 years of courtrooms. She was 60 years old, with gray hair pinned back and a handshake as firm as a vice grip. She sat at Grandma Ruth's kitchen table, put on reading glasses, and went through every document in those blue folders, page by page. 20 minutes of silence, except for the occasional sound of paper turning. Then she took off her glasses and set them down. Mrs. Hartwell, this is clear cut. She looked at me. Drew, this is a UTMA account. A Uniform Transfers to Minors Act account. The money in this account has belonged to you since the day your grandmother deposited it. Your father was named as the custodian, which means he had a legal responsibility to manage it only for your benefit. She tapped the final statement. But taking out $187,000 to buy a house for someone else in the family is not managing it for your benefit. It is a clear violation of that legal responsibility. And given the amount, this counts as felony theft of custodial funds under state law. The word felony hung in the air like smoke. What are Drew's options? Grandma Ruth asked. 2 paths. First, a civil lawsuit for restitution, meaning getting the money back. Second, A criminal complaint filed with the district attorney's office. Margaret paused. You can pursue one or both. Ruth looked at me. I looked at her. She didn't tell me what to do. She never has. She just nodded once and waited. Both, I said. Margaret wrote something in her notebook and closed it. I'll file the complaint tomorrow morning. I'll need both of you available for statements. She shook our hands at the door. Firm. Professional. The wheels were turning now. And they don't stop for anyone. After Margaret left, I expected Grandma Ruth to sit back down. Rest. Process. She didn't. She picked up her phone and scrolled through her contacts with the focus of a woman who had already planned her next 3 moves. Grandma, what are you doing? Calling Karen Avery. I blinked. Karen Avery, the reporter, Channel 7? She was my student, class of 2003. Smart girl. Honest. Grandma, are you sure? That's public. Everyone will know. Ruth set the phone on the table and really looked at me. Not with anger, not with rushing, but with the calm certainty of someone who had watched her daughter change the truth for 40 years. Drew, listen to me. Diane is already controlling the story. I'm sure she's already called 5 people this morning and told them this is just a misunderstanding, a family argument. She'll go to church on Sunday and shake hands and smile and say her mother is being difficult. She leaned forward. Your mother has gotten through every hard time in her life by making sure no one hears the other side of the story. She depends on our silence. That's how she works. That's always been how she works. I thought about the Facebook post I knew was coming, the one where Mom would make herself out to be the victim. I thought about how convincing she is. How she cried this morning on demand. How even I, who knows better, almost believed her. If we stay quiet, Ruth said, she turns this into just a family disagreement. The DA sees it as one person's word against another, and she walks away. She picked up the phone again. I didn't save that money for 18 years to let my daughter steal it in silence. She dialed. I sat at the table and realized my grandmother wasn't just angry. She had a plan. And I had no idea yet how far it would go. By that evening, Mom had gone into action. My phone buzzed 11 times between 6 o'clock and 9 p.m. I didn't answer. She called Grandma Ruth. No answer. She texted us both. This is a family matter. You are destroying everything. Tyler will pay it back. Just give us time. But time was exactly what she used to take the money in the first place. 8 months of time. Quiet. Calculated. Month after month. Tyler called me at 8:30. I picked up for this one. Drew. Mom says you went to Grandma's. She's freaking out. She told me to come over there and smooth things over. Tyler, did you know where the money for your house came from? Silence. Then, Mom said she took out a home equity loan. That's what the paperwork showed. There was no loan. She lied to you too. More silence. I could hear him breathing. Drew. Listen. Let me talk to Grandma. I can fix this. You can't fix this, Tyler. It's already broken. I hung up. Set the phone face down. And meanwhile, I didn't find this out until the next morning. Mom was calling neighbors and friends from church. She was also posting in the Ridgemont Community Facebook group at 9:47 p.m. Please pray for our family. My mother is trying to tear us apart over a misunderstanding about finances. I've always put my children first. I just ask for your prayers and understanding during this painful time. 62 reactions by midnight. Hearts. Prayer hands. Stay strong. And Diane was already rewriting the story. That's what she does. She was never going to stop. Not until someone told the truth louder. And right about then, I didn't know it. But Grandma Ruth was sitting in her kitchen writing an email to Karen Avery, with those 3 blue folders right beside her. I sat in my room that night staring at Mom's Facebook post. 62 people sending her prayers. And I thought, am I the one in the wrong here? She called it a misunderstanding. A part of me, the part that spent 18 years wanting her to love me, wanted to believe that. But $214 in my account is not a misunderstanding. That's a choice. And her choice didn't include me. If your mother took $187,000 from you and called it a family decision, would you believe her, Or would you keep going like I did? Tell me in the comments. 2 days later, Saturday, my high school graduation party. I didn't want to go. It felt like walking into a play where everyone had the wrong script. But Grandma Ruth called me that morning and said, "Go, sweetheart. Smile. Be gracious. Let your mother feel comfortable." Something about the way she said it made me think this was part of a bigger plan, but I didn't ask. The party was at our house on Oak Street. Mom had gone all out. Streamers in the school colors. A banner that read, "Congratulations," Drew in gold letters. Sandwiches from the deli on Main. A sheet cake with my name on it. 30 people filled the living room and spilled onto the back patio. Uncle Jim and Aunt Patty, Cousin Sarah, 3 of my teachers, including Mrs. Patterson, who taught me AP English for 2 years. Neighbors, Mom's church friends, a few of Dad's work contacts. Tyler was there too. He sat in the corner of the patio with a beer, barely talking. He looked like a man who hadn't slept in 3 days. Mom moved through the room like she was hosting a big awards show. Her smile was perfect, locked in place. She touched shoulders, refilled glasses, laughed at every joke. At one point, she stood near the banner and put her arm around me for a photo. "I'm so proud of this girl," she announced to no one in particular. "My independent little fighter. She's going to do amazing things." I smiled for the camera. I said thank you when people handed me cards. I ate cake. But the whole time, I was watching and counting faces. 30 people in this room. Not one of them knew my college fund was gone. Not yet. It happened halfway through the party. I was standing by the food table when Great Aunt Bonnie, Mom's aunt, walked up with a napkin in one hand and a smile so real it made my chest hurt. "So, Drew, where are you headed for college, sweetheart? I know Ruth must be so proud." The room didn't exactly go quiet, but the conversation slowed down. A few people turned to listen. Before I could answer, Mom was there. She appeared out of nowhere, her hand on my shoulder, squeezing just hard enough. "Oh, Drew is still figuring things out. You know, kids these days, they change their minds every other week." Aunt Bonnie tilted her head. "But didn't Ruth set up a fund for her? She's talked about it for years." The room was listening now. I could feel it. Everyone leaning in. Mom didn't miss a beat. Mother's fund was really more of a family investment. And we put it where it was needed most. She beamed. "Tyler just bought his first home. Isn't that wonderful?" A few nods, a few polite murmurs, but not everyone. I saw Mrs. Patterson near the window. She was not nodding. She was watching Mom with narrowed eyes, then looking at me, then back at Mom. Her jaw was tight. Uncle Jim glanced at Dad. Dad was suddenly very interested in his paper plate. Mom kept going. "Drew has always been self-sufficient. She doesn't need a fund. She's got grit, right, honey?" She squeezed my shoulder again. The whole room was waiting for me to agree. I didn't agree. I didn't say anything at all. I just looked at my plate and thought, she just told 30 people she stole my money, and she doesn't even realize it. After the party, the backyard emptied slowly. Paper plates in the trash. Leftover cake on the counter. Mom inside doing dishes. Humming like nothing happened. Tyler caught me on the back porch. "Drew, wait." I stopped. He looked terrible. Eyes red, hands in his pockets, shifting his weight like a kid standing outside the principal's office. "That fund. Was it really yours? Like legally? Only yours?" I pulled up the photo on my phone. The one I took at Grandma Ruth's kitchen table. The account document. His eyes scanned it. Beneficiary: Drew Collins. Custodian: Roy Collins. No mention of Tyler. No mention of Diane. No mention of family. His face drained of color. "I didn't know," he said, almost a whisper. "Drew, I swear to God. I didn't know." "I believe you." Mom told me it was a home equity line of credit. She showed me paperwork. She said it was all legitimate. "There was no line of credit, Tyler." He sat down on the porch step, put his head in his hands. For a long moment, neither of us said anything. The crickets were loud. A car passed on Oak Street. "What do you want me to do?" he asked. I sat down next to him. Not close, but next to him. "I don't want anything from you. I just want what's mine. He nodded slowly, like the weight of it was settling into his bones. She lied to me too, he said quietly. She looked me right in the face and lied. Yeah, I said. She did. We sat there in the half-dark. Two siblings on opposite sides of a theft neither of us planned. And for the first time in our lives, we were on the same page. But I knew that being on the same page didn't mean we'd end up in the same place. Monday morning, Mom opened the mailbox and found an envelope from the law office of Margaret Bowen. I know this because I heard her scream from inside my bedroom. Not a word, just a sound. Raw and furious, like an animal caught in a trap. 30 seconds later, she was banging on my door. You're pressing charges against your own parents. I opened the door. She was holding the letter, a formal demand for the money back, and a notice that a criminal complaint had been filed with the district attorney. Are you out of your mind? You stole $187,000 from me, from a custodial account. That's a felony. This is our family. This is not something you take to a courthouse. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. The facts did the work. You had 8 months to tell me. You chose not to. This is the consequence. And then the shift. The tears again. Right on schedule. She crumpled the letter against her chest. Her lip quivered. Her voice dropped to that hurt whisper she had perfected over the years. I was trying to help this family. Both my children. You don't know the pressure I've been under. Tyler didn't need my college fund, Mom. Her eyes hardened. The tears dried up. And there she was, the real Diane. Not the suffering victim. Not the devoted mother. The woman who looked at her daughter's future and decided it was something she could spend. If you go through with this, she said, her voice flat, you will never be part of this family again. I held her gaze. I already wasn't. She stared at me for 3 full seconds. Then she turned, walked down the hall, and slammed the bedroom door so hard the family photos rattled on the wall. The next morning, Grandma Ruth called Karen Avery, and everything changed. Karen Avery arrived at Grandma Ruth's house on Wednesday at 10 a.m. A cameraman, a field producer, and a gray news van parked on Maple Street. Karen was in her early 40s, with sharp eyes. She shook Grandma Ruth's hand at the door and said, Mrs. Hartwell, I haven't seen you since sophomore English. You were a terrible speller, Ruth said, but an excellent listener. That's what matters today. They sat at the kitchen table. The blue folders were open. Camera rolling. Ruth told the story the way she does everything. Calmly, completely, without adding anything extra. 18 years of saving. $500 to $800 a month from a teacher's salary and pension. A total of $187,000, including investment returns. All deposited into a protected savings account. For her granddaughter, Drew Collins. She slid the documents across the table. Opening paperwork, annual statements, the final balance. $214. My daughter and her husband withdrew every penny, she said, looking directly into the camera. They used it to purchase a house for their son, not for Drew. Drew did not receive a single cent, Karen asked. And you're filing criminal charges against your own daughter. Ruth folded her hands. Steady. Unshakable. I love my daughter. I will always love my daughter. But I love justice more. And Drew deserves justice. That money was never mine to give Diane. It was never Diane's to take. It belonged to Drew from the day I deposited the first dollar. The camera held on her face for a long moment. 74 years old. Retired school teacher. Backbone of steel. Karen Avery thanked her, packed up, and told us the segment would air on Thursday evening's broadcast. 48 hours. In 48 hours the whole town would know. Thursday. 6 o'clock news. I watched from Grandma Ruth's living room. She sat in her armchair, hands folded in her lap, eyes on the screen. Neither of us spoke. The segment ran 4 minutes. Karen Avery narrated over footage of our town, the courthouse, the bank on Main Street, the high school. Then Grandma Ruth's face filled the screen. Her voice steady and clear, carrying the truth into 12,000 living rooms. Grandmother accuses daughter of stealing grandchild's $187,000 college fund. It went exactly the way you'd expect. And then further. By 8 p.m. the Ridgemont Community Facebook group was on fire. Hundreds of comments, shares, people tagging people. Mrs. Patterson, my AP English teacher, wrote, "I taught Drew Collins for 4 years. She earned every grade, every award, every opportunity. That girl deserves better than this." 87 likes in 20 minutes. Parents started posting, "I have a UTMA for my son. Checking it right now. Does this happen? Can a parent just take the money? I'm calling my bank tomorrow." I scrolled through comments from Ruth's couch. Most were supportive. A few were cautious. There are 2 sides to every story. But when Karen Avery posted a link explaining the law around custodial accounts, even the cautious ones went quiet. Mom was watching. I knew because Tyler texted me at 8:22 p.m. Mom saw the news. She tried to call the station. They wouldn't pull it. Then a second text. I saw it too. I'm so sorry, Drew. I'm going to make this right. The story was picked up by a station at the state level by Friday morning. Ridgemont had never seen anything like this, and it was only the beginning. Mom's counterattack came Friday at noon. A long, carefully worded Facebook post on her personal page. "The story you saw on the news tells only one side. I am a loving mother who has sacrificed everything for both my children. The funds were used for our family's future. My mother and I have had our differences for years, and I'm heartbroken that she chose to make them public. I ask for privacy, compassion, and prayers during this incredibly difficult time." It got 114 reactions in the first hour, but something interesting happened underneath. The comments split, and not in her favor. "Diane, a custodial account belongs to the child. That's the law. I've known Ruth Hartwell for 30 years. She doesn't lie. If it was a family decision, why didn't Drew know about it?" One by one, the prayer hands thinned out. The stay strong messages slowed. People who were at my graduation party started going quiet. Uncle Jim deleted his comment. Mom was removed from the Ridgemont Women's Auxiliary Group on Saturday. The church prayer chain coordinator called and suggested she step back from leadership for a while. Neighbors stopped waving. And then a private message landed in my inbox from a name I didn't recognize at first. Sandra Mullen, Mom's college roommate. "Drew, I'm sorry for what you're going through. I want you to know your mother borrowed $3,000 from me last year and never paid it back. When I saw the news, I wasn't surprised. I was just sad." I stared at the message. $3,000. Another person. Another lie. Mom's story was falling apart. Not because anyone was attacking her, but because the truth has a weight of its own, and that weight doesn't need anyone's permission. The following Wednesday, Margaret Bowen called. "Drew, I have an update. The district attorney's office has officially opened an investigation. They've legally requested the bank records." I was sitting on Grandma Ruth's porch. It was a warm morning. The wind chime was turning slowly. What does that mean exactly? It means they're reviewing every withdrawal, every approval, every signature. $187,000 in documented transfers from a custodial account used for someone who wasn't the beneficiary. This is a clear-cut case. I would be very surprised if charges aren't filed. Clear-cut. My family had been reduced to a textbook legal example. What kind of charges? Felony theft. Given the amount, both your mother and father could face serious consequences. We're talking probation at the least, and possible prison time at the most. I closed my eyes. The wind chime made a soft, clear sound. Is there a way if they pay it back can this stop? Paying the money back can be taken into account when deciding the punishment. But the DA makes charging decisions on their own. Once the complaint is filed, it's not yours to take back. I called Grandma Ruth after I hung up. She was inside making lunch. "I'm scared, Grandma." "Of what?" "That they'll actually go to prison. They're my parents." Ruth was quiet for a moment. A long moment. And when she spoke, her voice was the gentlest it had been through all of this. "Drew, you didn't put them there. They put themselves there. Every signature, every withdrawal, every lie. That was their choice, not yours." I nodded, even though she couldn't see me through the screen door. "Now come inside. Soup's getting cold." I went inside. I ate the soup. But my mind was somewhere else, because Tyler was about to do something none of us expected. Tyler called on a Friday afternoon. His voice sounded different. Quieter. Older somehow. Drew, I talked to a lawyer. My own lawyer. Not Mom's. Okay. I'm giving back the house. I was standing in Grandma Ruth's kitchen, and I set down the glass I was holding. Tyler, the house is in your name. I know. And it was bought with your money. I can't live in it. I've been lying awake every night staring at the ceiling of a house my little sister paid for without knowing it. I'm done. He told me the plan. He'd list the house for sale. The money would go directly into a repayment account. Margaret Bowen would oversee the transfer. Clean, legal, and documented. My lawyer says I'm not legally required to do this, Tyler continued. I wasn't the custodian. I didn't sign anything. I didn't know. Then why are you doing this? Because it's right. And because, he paused. His voice cracked just slightly. Because I can't be the person Mom turned me into. I won't. I didn't say anything for a moment. The kitchen was quiet. Grandma Ruth was in the next room. I could hear her turning pages. Tyler, she told you it was a loan. She told me a lot of things. Another pause. I went through the paperwork she gave me. The home equity loan documents. They're fake. Drew. There's no loan, no lender, no loan number. She made them up. The air left my lungs. Mom didn't just steal from me. She built a trail of lies to cover it. She forged documents. She lied to her own son's face. Thank you, Tyler, I said, because it was all I could manage. Don't thank me. I should have asked questions a long time ago. He hung up. I sat down at the table and stared at the wall. This family is broken. But maybe not all of it. 2 weeks later, the DA made it official. Diane Collins and Roy Collins were formally charged with felony theft of custodial funds. The amount? $187,000. The charge? Stealing money from a protected savings account that was held in trust for a minor. Karen Avery ran the update on Thursday's broadcast. Ridgemont couple faces felony charges after allegedly draining granddaughter's college fund. Mom hired a defense attorney. His strategy was predictable. Argue that as the account's custodian, Roy believed he had the right to do what he did. That the family understood the money to belong to everyone. Just a misunderstanding of what a custodian is supposed to do. But the bank records told a different story. $9,000 here, $12,000 there, $15,000 spread over 8 months. Just below the limits that would trigger automatic alerts. Calculated. Deliberate. Not a misunderstanding. A plan. And then Tyler's discovery about the fake loan documents reached the DA. That changed everything. Fake paperwork turns a bad decision into something planned in advance. Roy, through his lawyer, approached the DA with a plea offer. He wanted to cooperate, admit fault, and accept responsibility. Mom refused. She was still fighting. Still insisting this was her right as a mother. I watched the news from Grandma Ruth's living room. The same armchair, the same folded hands. I didn't want them in court, I said to no one in particular. I wanted them to be my parents. Ruth reached over and squeezed my hand. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. Outside, the street light on Maple flickered on. The sun was going down over Ridgemont. And the Collins family, whatever that word used to mean, would never be the same. But the truth was out. And truth, unlike money, can't be taken back. While the legal process moved forward, Grandma Ruth did what she's always done. She acted. On a quiet Tuesday, she met with Margaret Bowen at the attorney's office downtown. I sat beside her. Margaret had paperwork spread across the conference table. But this time it wasn't about the case. It was about the future. I want to set up a permanent, protected trust, Ruth said. For Drew. No family member in charge of it. A corporate trustee, the bank. Margaret nodded. That's the safest structure. No one can access it except Drew, and only after she turns 21. Money can only be used for school and basic living expenses. Ruth opened her purse and pulled out a cashier's check. She slid it across the table. $42,000. I stared at it. Grandma, that's everything you have left. She said it plainly, like she was telling me the time. My savings, my retirement reserve, Everything I have except this house and my social security. I can't take that. You're not taking it. I'm giving it, the same way I gave the first $18 years ago. She put her hand on mine. Her fingers were thin and warm. It's not $187,000, but it's enough to start. I cried for the first time since this whole thing began. I sat in the lawyer's office and cried like I was 10 years old. Ruth didn't tell me to stop. She didn't say it would be okay. She just held my hand and waited until I was done. You are worth every penny, Drew. You always have been. Margaret filed the trust paperwork that afternoon. $42,000, protected, untouchable, waiting for me. My grandmother is 74 years old. She just gave away her entire safety net for me because she believes I'm worth it. And for the first time in a long time, I believe it too. Consequences don't all arrive at once. They build up like snow on a roof, quiet at first, then heavy enough to cause damage. Mom was let go from her part-time job at Ridgemont Floral. Mrs. Garza, the owner, called her into the back room on a Monday and said, "Diane, I can't have someone facing felony charges representing my shop." I'm sorry. Mom told Dad it was because business was slow. Dad knew better. He didn't say anything. Dad's work dried up too. He had been a self-employed electrician for 20 years. But in a small town, your reputation is the only thing that counts. 2 regular clients canceled contracts the same week. A third stopped returning calls. Nobody sent a formal letter. They just disappeared. Mom was removed from the Church Women's Auxiliary Board. Not asked to step down. Removed. Pastor Davis called the house and requested a private meeting. Mom didn't go. The neighborhood changed. Subtly, but unmistakably. Mrs. Whitfield across the street used to wave every morning. Now she checked her mailbox with her back turned. The Petersons next door stopped inviting my parents to the 4th of July barbecue. Tyler sold the house. It closed in 6 weeks. Net proceeds after fees. $178,000. Every cent went into the repayment fund that Margaret Bowen set up. Tyler moved into a studio apartment across town. He picked up extra freelance work. He didn't complain. Tyler and I still talked. Short conversations. Careful ones. He texted every few days. "Hope classes go well." I replied, "Thanks. Hope you're okay." We weren't where we were, but we weren't gone either. The town didn't forget. But the town also didn't pile on. People just adjusted. They changed how they thought about who Diane Collins really was. And for someone who had built her whole life on her image, that was the worst punishment of all. I don't ask for help. I never have. That's kind of the whole problem. But help came anyway. Mrs. Patterson, my AP English teacher, the one who watched Mom's speech at the graduation party and didn't nod, started a GoFundMe 3 days after the news story aired. The title, "Help Drew Collins Get to College." Goal: $20,000. It hit $20,000 in 16 hours. By the 72-hour mark, the total was $67,000. Donations from across the state. $5 here, $50 there. A few anonymous gifts of $500. People I had never met. Writing notes like, "I was the overlooked daughter too. Go get your degree." And, "Ruth Hartwell taught my mother in 1987. The apple doesn't fall far." Then the university called. The admissions office. A woman named Dr. Simmons. "Drew, we've been following your situation. We'd like to offer you a full tuition scholarship based on your academic achievement and demonstrated community leadership." I was sitting on Grandma Ruth's porch when she said it. My hand shook for the first time in weeks. Full tuition? Full tuition. 4 years. "We believe in you, Drew." I hung up and walked inside. Ruth was at the kitchen table. Always the kitchen table, reading the newspaper. I stood in the doorway. She looked up. "I got it," I said. "Full scholarship." Her face didn't change at first. Then her chin trembled. Then her eyes filled. And Ruth Hartwell, the woman who had filed criminal charges against her own daughter without shedding a single tear, cried. That was the only time I had ever heard her cry. "I knew you would," she whispered. "I always knew." The GoFundMe was redirected to living expenses and books. Every dollar accounted for. every penny toward the future. And somewhere, in the list of donors, an anonymous gift of $500. I found out later it was Tyler. 4 months later, October. The leaves on Maple Street had turned gold, and the air smelled like wood smoke from someone else's fireplace. Roy's plea deal went through first. He pleaded guilty to a lesser charge, reduced from a felony, in exchange for full cooperation and testimony. 3 years probation. $93,500 in payments back to me. His half. He stood in the courtroom in a gray suit that didn't fit quite right and said, "I accept responsibility, Your Honor." He didn't look at me, but I saw his hands trembling at his sides. Mom held out longer. She cycled through 3 arguments. The money was a family resource. She had the right to manage it how she saw fit. Ruth was acting out of spite. Her attorney pushed each one. The judge listened. The evidence spoke louder. The fake loan document sealed it. In the end, Diane Collins accepted a plea deal. Felony theft was reduced to a lesser charge. 5 years probation. $93,500 in payments back to me. 200 hours of community service. No prison time, but a permanent felony on her record. And she said nothing in court. Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "I was wrong." She signed the paperwork, stood, and walked out of the courtroom without looking at anyone. Tyler's house sale covered $178,000 of the total repayment. Mom and Dad owed the remaining $9,000 through monthly payments. Combined with Ruth's trust, the scholarship, and the GoFundMe, I started college in the fall. On time, fully funded, textbooks bought, dorm room assigned. And I sat on my new bed on move-in day and let the math settle in. Justice doesn't feel like victory. It feels like grief with a receipt. There's a moment I keep thinking about. If Mom had just said, "I'm sorry." 2 words. Would I have dropped the charges? I don't know. But she never said it. Not once. Not even today. That's the part one keep coming back to. Not the money, not the courtroom. The silence where an apology should have been. I sometimes wonder, if your parents did this to you and never once said they were sorry, even with the proof right in front of the judge, even with the whole town watching, could you forgive them? Or would you hold the line? I don't have the answer yet. Maybe I never will. But I'd really like to know what you think. Would you forgive, or would you protect yourself? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. It's November now. My dorm room is small. A single bed, a wooden desk, a window that looks out over the main lawn where students cut across the grass between classes. On the wall above my desk, there's one photo. Grandma Ruth and me on graduation day. She's wearing her blue cardigan, the one with the buttons she's had since I was a baby. I'm in my cap and gown. We're both smiling. It's the only photo from that day I kept. People ask me sometimes, friends here at school, a roommate, a professor who read the article, whether I hate my parents. And I don't. That's the honest answer, and it surprises people. I'm angry. I'm hurt in places I don't fully understand yet. But hate takes energy I'd rather spend somewhere else. What I feel is something quieter than hate and heavier than sadness. It's the weight of knowing that the people who were supposed to protect you chose not to. I'm not telling this story so you'll feel sorry for me. And I'm not telling it so you'll hate my mother. I'm telling it because I spent 18 years believing that staying silent was a sign of strength. That if I was just good enough, quiet enough, easy enough, eventually I'd be seen. I was wrong. Silence wasn't strength. It was permission. And when I stopped giving permission, everything changed. If you're in a situation where someone in your family is taking from you, your money, your peace, your sense of self, I want you to hear this. Setting a boundary is not betrayal. It's not burning a bridge. It's building a door. One that only opens from your side. You get to decide who walks through. I don't know if my parents will ever come back to that door. But for the first time the door is mine. I call Grandma Ruth every Sunday night at 7. She's still in the house on Maple Street. Still has the blue shutters, the wind chime, the hydrangeas. She told me last week that the porch swing needs new chains. I told her I'd fix them over winter break. And she said she'd believe it when she saw it. The blue folders are still in her kitchen drawer. Just in case, she says. I don't argue. Tyler texts me every few days. Short messages. Nothing heavy. How's the food in the dining hall? Terrible but free. Hang in there. We're rebuilding something. I don't know what to call it yet. It's not what it was before, because what it was before wasn't real. This is slower, more careful, built on something that might actually hold. But Mom and Dad, I don't talk to them. No calls, no texts, no visits. 2 months after the sentencing, a letter arrived at my dorm. Handwritten. Mom's stationery, the cream-colored kind with her initials raised at the top. I sat on my bed and opened it. Dear Drew, I know you may not want to hear from me. I want you to know that I did what I thought was right for this family. Your father and I have always tried to give both our children the best we could, and I hope one day you'll understand that. I read it twice, then a third time, looking for the word sorry. It wasn't there. I folded the letter, put it in my desk drawer, and closed it. Maybe one day I'll write back. Maybe I won't. But that choice for the first time in my life is mine. I look out the window at the lawn. Students walking to class in the cold. Breath visible. Future ahead of them. Mine too. For the first time in my life, my future is in my own hands. If you're still here, if you stayed through all of it, thank you. I know this story is heavy. I know it's the kind of thing that makes you want to check on the people you love and double-check the accounts you thought were safe. I know because I felt all of that and I lived it. I didn't tell you this for pity. I didn't tell you this for revenge. I told you because somewhere out there, someone is sitting in their bedroom right now staring at a bank statement that doesn't make sense. And they're wondering if they're crazy. They're wondering if it's worth the fight. They're wondering if standing up means losing everything. It might. I won't lie about that. I lost my parents. I lost the version of my family I thought I had. I lost months of sleep and years of trust. But I gained something too. I gained my future. I gained my self-respect. I gained a grandmother who taught me that love and accountability aren't opposites. They're the same thing. And I gained this, the knowledge that I am not the person who sits quietly while someone takes what belongs to me. Not anymore. If that speaks to you, if you've been the quiet one, the overlooked one, the one who keeps the peace at the cost of your own peace, I hope you hear me. You are worth standing up for, even when the person you're standing up to shares your last name. And Grandma Ruth, if you're listening, thank you for every envelope, every dollar, every Sunday phone call. I love you more than I know how to say. Thank you for staying until the very end. If this story made you feel something, please hit subscribe and tap that notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. And if you've ever dealt with a family member who took something that was yours, money, trust, your sense of belonging, I want to hear your story. Drop it in the comments. I read every single one, and so does this community. There's another story linked in the description about a woman whose in-laws tried to take her inheritance at a family dinner in front of 40 guests. The way she handled it, you'll want to see how that one ends. I'll see you there.